We're with Hayley Brodeur, one of the senior captains on the Eastern Connecticut track and field team. The Warriors getting ready to open up their indoor season on December 7th at the Smith College Winter Classic. Hayley, you're one of 7 seniors on the team, and you've all been on the team for 4 years. Talk about that relationship with the other seniors.
We've been close from the very beginning. I met the twins, the Dulac twins, in my first semester here, and we've been super close ever since. And I think that because we're so close, we've stuck with it for so long, and we've enjoyed it for so long. I mean, my absolute favorite part about track is the team, and, you know, including the boys too. And I think that because of that relationship, we've all done so well in our track careers.
I think one thing people don't understand when they think of track or cross country is that it's not a team sport. But
right.
That's what keeps you going.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that actually helps a little bit because, you know, when you're on a field, and I played field hockey, I understand that dynamic. You know, it's a little bit more frustrating when somebody has a bad day because you know, it affects you and your performance right on the field in that very moment. But for me, if, you know, I get 6th in the 400 instead of 1st, which is where I was seated, you know, the girls understand my frustration. They say, you know, they help me. They said, I'm so sorry, you know, You'll do better next time. Don't worry about it, you know, because you can't see that in black and white. It didn't affect their race. You know, their race is not going to affect mine.
That's
but,
right.
You know, at the same time, when those points lack, someone will pick it up for me. And, you know, that's something that I can count on with my team, and it's amazing.
And I know the teamwork part of it is something you like, but I always get the feeling with you're somewhat sort of an independent person in that it seems like you want to completely control your own destiny, which is probably why you're in track.
I do. A little bit of a control freak.
Yeah.
But
you don't want to have someone else to blame if you don't do your job.
Exactly. And, you know, some things you have to take in your own hands. You have to take your diet in your own hands. You have to take some training in your own hands. You know, nobody wants to wake up on Saturday and train extra. But that's something that you have to do if you want to be successful. You know, going into the weight room, this year it's a little bit different because of the attendance policy. But, you know, last year, if you wanted to go in the weight room, you had to make that happen yourself. And, you know, I developed that relationship with a strength coach, and I think that because I have that kind of control, that's what I love so much about track.
Well, you turned last year, in the spring especially, you turned into one of the premier 400-meter runners in Division III. And we talked off camera. Talk a little bit about how, with Jay Mendoza, the former strength and conditioning coach, how much that really may have put you over the top.
I just didn't take strength and conditioning seriously before I met Jay. He really, you know, he helped me out. You know, when I came back on a Monday from having a meet on Saturday, you know, he would already know my time. He would already know how I did. And, you know, sometimes he was like, don't worry, I watched it on the live stream, you know. So, and he was like, this is what worked. This is what didn't. This is what I noticed. This is what we're going to do this week to make next week even better. You know, and if I came through with a breakthrough, you know, he was like, well, let's look back at what we did last week. You know, let's look and see what worked. And, you know, he took my training just as seriously as any of my other coaches took my training. And, you know, I think that that's what set me apart and what really had a big impact on my season last year.
At what point did you realize last year, Hayley, that, hey, you could do something special in the 400? Was there a certain point where it sort of came home to you?
There was, and it was the UMass Dartmouth meet in outdoor. I shaved off 3 seconds in 1 week, and that was something that I just never thought I ever could do. The week before, we were at your sinus, and, you know, the weather wasn't great, so that could have had a huge impact. I won the meet there, and I won the meet at UMass Dartmouth, and I had known when I finished that I had come in first. It was just a matter of what that time was. And that time was nothing like I had ever run before. You know, I hadn't even hit 59 at that point, and to hit 58, that was a huge, huge victory for me. And even winning the meet was a huge accomplishment for me as well. And then it was when the LEC had that, came out with that article for the Runner of the Week, that I realized that maybe I could start competing nationally.
So at that point, you didn't even really realize what the national rankings and all that kind of stuff was about?
No, and I didn't even know what it took to go to nationals. I didn't know you had to be top 22. I didn't know anything about that. It wasn't until I read the article on myself that I realized that I was nationally ranked, and that was huge. It was such a great moment for me, and that's when I started asking questions to my coach, and there were a lot of questions.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good for a 200-meter runner.
Yeah,
right.
Especially.
I mean, that
I
was
didn't
going to be your
belong
thing,
there. Yeah.
right?
The 200 was supposed to be my race, and I started to get really frustrated with it. The 400, it involves a lot more mentally tough thinking. You have to talk yourself. In my head, I talk myself through the entire race. Even when I hit the 200-meter mark, I'm always like, yeah, this is the 200, you can do this in your sleep, So that was big, especially because I thought if I was going to get that far, I would be getting there in the 200 with the 200.
When you step to the starting line of the 400, you must be saying, I'm going to be in a lot of pain for the next minute.
I
right?
do, and I say it's only a minute,
Yeah.
and you can do anything for a minute.
Yeah.
But when you cross that finish line, you see that time, it's all worth it, for sure.
Is there any strategy involved in 400? I know mentally is a big part of it, but is it pretty much just all-out sprinting for a minute?
So actually, we figured out last year that if I was going to improve at all, I had to start going all out. At first I was being paced. My coach was like, you should go out hard, then you should settle in, and then you should bring it home. And then we realized that no matter what, I'm going to be in a lot of pain at the end. So I might as well start off just as fast as I'm going to finish. And it worked. Coach Morgan, the former UConn coach who we're so lucky to have, told me that. He was like, listen, you got to stop. Just go all out and just see what happens. And, that was huge advice for me, especially before the New England meet. So.
Isn't a 400 a kind of thing where unless you're completely in great shape and completely flexible, that you could easily just pull a muscle?
Yeah.
Because you're going so hard.
Absolutely, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
It gets really
God.
cold, and that can happen. But I see that more happening in the 60-meter or the 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
Definitely. We saw that even on our teams. I've seen it over the past 4 years at times. And you just have to be careful. You have to warm up. I warm up for an hour before my race, before the 400.
Where does the 400 usually land in a meet? Is it like a third of the way through?
It's right in the middle. So, my coach, sometimes puts me in the 100 as a warm-up or in the 4x1, which I love. I love those races. I used to do those a lot. And just to get my muscles, warmed up and be like, this is what we're doing today, so get ready,
Yeah.
And then the 400 comes usually in the middle, but I always give myself an hour for the 400 to warm up so that I stay as injury-free as I can.
Talk about your competition with Trinity Hayes. Does that name ring a bell?
Yes.
I mean, indoors you were separated by a half a second in the Little East, and then outdoors you were separated by half a second. You won one, she won one.
Yeah. That name will stay with me forever. I won outdoor and she won indoor, and I have nothing but good things to say about her. She's an incredible runner, and she really made me, wake up and be like, this is a freshman, hello, start training, get ready, this is what you're up against. Because Rick has those twins who did graduate this year, thank goodness. But they have always been fast, but I just wasn't expecting them to bring up a freshman that was so good. But she pushed me, and after the indoor meet and the conferences, I was like, there it is, that's my competition, that's my goal for outdoor, and I ended up exceeding it, so that was great.
The thing that it looked like is that when she beat you by a half a second, I think, unless you ran the relay, that was your only race that day. But when you beat her outdoors, you had also run the 200. I don't know which came first.
You
run the 400
I
first?
ran the 400 and then I ran the 4x4, and that
Afterwards,
was it.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Outdoors was the 200 run before the 400?
No.
Oh, it was after?
It was after,
Okay.
yeah. And Coach even held me out of the 4x1 that day. just to get me completely ready. I don't know if there was a correlation there with that. In terms of the 200, we were trying to qualify me for New England's. I ended up being
I see.
a hundredth of a second off. But no, I don't think that there was a huge correlation there in terms of running extra races and stuff, especially if it comes after the 400. I end up being okay.
Yeah, right.
But before the 400, I really have to be careful on what I'm running.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You came so close to breaking the Eastern record in the 400, which has been, I believe, it was set in the 80s in the Nationals. Is that something that could be a personal goal? Well, I'm sure you have two personal goals for this year, to break that record and to go to the Nationals?
Yeah, Nationals is my ultimate goal. I feel that if I qualify for Nationals, the rest will fall into place. I'd like to win the LEC again. I would like to place higher in New England's, and I want to break that record more than anything. I mean, that's my ultimate goal for this year. But I think if I do break that record, Nationals will come along naturally with it. That was my goal last year. I mean, she also holds the record in the 200. And Ariane has come so close to beating that record too. And so, we get frustrated together, but those are our goals for this year. So.
Well, you got a good unit, and I think you're going to have a good season. You got a lot of experience. And I was noticing on the track roster that almost half of the runners, almost half of the women on the roster are distance people. Are you looking at that as sort of a strength of this year's team, do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, they won the LEC.
Yeah.
They won the cross-country championship. They are, the center of our team. We absolutely will not be successful without them. We have sprinters coming up who are freshmen, who are promising, who, we're really excited about. However, we just don't have the numbers that they do. Distance has so many girls who are rock solid, and that's something that sometimes we're missing, and we're definitely missing. We're hurting for numbers for now, but.
Well, Eastern Connecticut opens up its indoor season on December 7th. They're going to be competing in their first meet of this season. They're going to be at the Smith College Winter Classic. So Hayley, thanks for being with me, and good luck indoor and outdoor.
Thank you so much.